And now that I've stopped, the warthog are going to stop, just in a place where we can't see them. And when the babies are first born, they're usually about 2 meters tall. They have to reach the just have to be tall enough to reach the teats of the mother. So obviously they have to be that tall, because otherwise they would struggle. And she doesn't lie down or anything like that. She'll remain standing, and then the baby can suckle from her. And in the first year they do grow quite rapidly, but she's quite a small female. I think she's probably around 4 meters or so. So it could be that baby's probably around 9 or 10 months old, as I say. I don't think it's quite a year yet. And you can see the male just standing right up against the female, and you'll notice every so often he kicks her back legs as well. And that's just to basically try and ask her to just slightly squat. She doesn't squat very far, but it's just called lordosis, and many of the antelope and other animals will adopt this posture, and it just allows the males to try and mount the female slightly easier. There you go, you can see he's actually just tried it again. Oh, I don't know if Patrick, you can admit that's it. Because he just tried to sort of shift her again. It's like gently nudging with his chest and with his legs as well. He'll sometimes sort of just kick slightly in between the legs, and especially the sable, I've seen doing that quite a lot. They'll kick in between the legs. But she clearly isn't interested at all, but she must be. There you go, you saw him nudging her again. So I think she is an estrus. We did see him sniffing her quite a lot. I haven't seen him testing her urine yet. Sometimes they will do that. If she does urinate, he'll take a bit in his mouth, swill it around his mouth where all the receptor cells are, just to test if she is an estrus or not and ready to mate. But as I say, it looks like she's really not interested. She's wanting to eat. And that's a sad fact of giraffe life, unfortunately. The males could be busy mating, and if the females see something tasty that they want to go and eat, they'll just walk off, and the males will just fall over their legs. You can see quite nicely with the close-up at the moment, with all the lumps on the head of this male giraffe. He's quite a nice bull, very dark bull as well. And again, they just form the calcified lumps on the head to act like a crash helmet. And if we... Oh, there you go, you can see he's sniffing her. So very, very interesting mating. Let's see if we can move just past this tree slightly. Little baby just moving out of the way, trying not to get in the way of the big male there. See, he's actually been quite persistent. Now if you look closely on the female's head, you'll see she doesn't really have any lumps like the male does, and again, the females don't need to have any extra protection around the head because they don't use the heads for fighting. It's just the males that will fight. You can see quite nice the difference between them, and even just the colour as well. You can see he's much darker than she is. But again, you do have to be quite careful when looking at things like that, because you've got to remember that young males haven't started developing the lumps on the head. They only develop them once they start fighting, all the extra lumps between the eyes and on top of the head. And as they get older, the giraffes usually get darker, so you can get fairly light young males. And it has seemed fairly dark in females as well, so you have to look at everything really to try and sex a giraffe. Even if you have a look at the horns, you've got very thin horns on the female, fairly thick horns on the male. Again, they've got to be a lot more robust for when they fight. And if you look quite closely on the male, I think we saw it slightly earlier, there's on top of the horns, he's actually worn them down with the fighting that he's been doing, so he's bald on top of the horns, whereas the female still has a lot of fur there. So we saw it quite nicely when he had his head down. There you go. You can see the two little bald patches there. Yeah, I can copy you now. I was just having a bit of problems earlier with the secret comms. Yeah, I can copy you now. Now, I have read in some books that you can tell the difference between male and female by the way they eat, and you can see for yourselves it's not really strictly true. A lot of books, or this one book that I read, just said that the male, if he's got he'll have his head up and he'll eat with his head up, and the female's at 45-degree angle. But as you've been watching, they've both been feeding with the heads up and also at 45 degrees, so it's not really, there you go, you can see it's at 45 degrees now. So it's not really it's a bit of a myth, that one, so don't, if you see that in books, you can see for yourselves it's not true. I'm also just keeping my eyes peeled. We did see a few vultures overhead just before we went on air, and it looked like they were coming down to land, but they have actually disappeared again, somewhere over towards Philemon's cut line, maybe even further. And I did see a batelier just fly over just before as well. Again, unfortunately it was just before we went on air, so I'm just going to have a look around that area and see if there's a kill around that maybe the leopards have made. We'll just keep our eyes very wide open this afternoon for any movement. I believe, Patrick, we haven't seen leopard for a little while. Is that right? We haven't seen leopard for a little while.
No, we haven't. No. But this morning we saw a drag mark. Apparently, the leopard made a kill in some spaghetti junction in the hyenas. Saw the kill. We saw the drag mark from Mamba Road, Mamba Pen junction with Twin Dams and all the way to the block here between Weaver's Nest and Twin Dams Road. Yeah.
Okay, so I wonder if that's where the vultures were heading then.
Probably, yeah. But
Maybe.
Yeah, there was not much. We just found that just in Pala horns that was it.
Okay.
The hinds were not there either. So.
No. Okay, it might be worth just driving around there, especially as it cools off. Shame this male's very persistent, eh? You see the red-billed oxpeckers trying to get a snack even from the little baby giraffe. Now it could be that this female is on her own, and she was just moving around with her calf, and the male just came to join her, or there could be other giraffe that we're not seeing, but I think she is on her own with this male. Again, giraffes don't have to be in herds, they can be on their own. They generally will sort of group together for safety, but as I say, it really does depend on what they feel like on the day. I have seen herds of up to about 13, 15 at Entebeni. I have heard someone say that they've seen about 20 together. And again, they can be mixed as well. So it could be males, females, could be bachelor groups, it could be just females with the calves. So it really does depend on what they feel like. Okay. Can you just send who that's from again?
From Ellen.
Ellen. Alan. Okay, welcome aboard, Alan. You were asking a little bit earlier about the difference in the cat claws. So I just want to just sit with the giraffe a little bit longer because I don't think he's going to be successful with the mating, but I do want to just sit with him a little bit longer and just see if we are lucky to see them mating. So while we are sitting here, I'll just answer this question. But you were just wanting to know about the difference with the claws with the cheetah and the leopard. You know that the leopard has retractable claws, whereas the cheetah doesn't. And also with you wanting to know about the lions, are they retractable or not? And the lions, they actually do retract their claws. And it's actually the cheetah that's the odd one out, if you like. And you're asking, you don't understand about the evolution of it, if they're eating the same sort of things and living in the same habitat. With the cheetah, it's that they actually utilize their claws for running, almost like the spikes on a running shoe. So the theory is that they have the claws out permanently to allow them the extra grip. Quite why the other cats haven't developed that, I'm not too sure, because obviously with the lions it will also be beneficial if they're chasing after anything, but at the same time, obviously with the leopards, they're climbing the trees, and I think they just need to have the claws sharpened and make sure that they are in good condition for obviously climbing the trees, and with the lions pulling the animals down. They tend to jump on the backs of the animals a lot more than the cheetahs do, whereas the cheetahs will run after the animal and actually trip the back leg. So their hunting styles are actually quite different, and that's possibly one of the other reasons why they had the difference in the style of claws. So they trip the back legs, and generally the cheetahs will go for the throat. I've read on a couple of occasions that the cheetahs not really going to go in for a spinal bite because their heads are quite small compared to something like a leopard or a lion. They have slightly smaller teeth to allow them for larger nasal cavities, which allows them to get a lot more oxygen into their lungs, and that helps obviously with the oxygen to the muscles to allow them for the speed and for the distance. With that speed, I think they can cover maybe 300-400 meters at their top speed. So they're adapted for the speed, and that's the whole purpose. And as I say, I've read that because the teeth are slightly smaller and their head's slightly smaller, they don't go in for a spinal bite very often. They prefer to go for the throat. Whereas obviously the lion, the leopard, they'll go for the throat, but they'll also go for the spine around the back of the neck as well. And they'll use the ambush and then grab the claws, dig the claws in, and try and hold on to the animal. So I think just the difference in the hunting techniques, and obviously with the cheetah, they go for slightly smaller animals than maybe the leopard. They'll go for things like the impala, the blesbok, that sort of size animals. The leopard can kill things like the kudu, probably even a baby giraffe if it really had luck on its side. I'll never say never. I have actually seen pictures of a fully grown or half a fully grown giraffe in a tree with two leopard. I don't know if the leopard was able to kill the giraffe, or whether it was already dead and they just dragged it up into the tree. I'm not sure about the full story there. I've also seen leopard pictures of them killing a crocodile. I think the crocodile is about 3.5 meters, and the leopard was actually straddling it, but it was in the process of killing it, and I think it actually completed it. And again, you wouldn't really dream of seeing a cheetah actually accomplishing something like that. But again, I'll never say never. Nature is quite an interesting thing, and if you'd asked me before, could a leopard kill a crocodile, I'd have said probably not. But as I say, just with the different hunting technique and the style, I'd have said with the cheetah, more than likely not go hunting crocodile. There's not really any reason for them to do that. So I think that's probably the reason. I have been looking at the reasoning behind that. I've been seeing if there's been papers about that, because I was also wondering exactly why. But that's the best thing that I can come up with, is just the hunting techniques have dictated that. So I hope that helps you, Alan. Unfortunately, I don't think this male giraffe's going to get anywhere with this female, do you, Patrick?
No, I don't think so either.
And yet he persists. There you go, just watch for the chest nudging her rump there. And as I say, if she does adopt that position, she'll just drop her behind a little bit, so it just allows him to mount her, and that's his signal that she's allowing him to mate. And he won't try and, or generally they won't try and mount the female until she is saying, yes, I am ready, because otherwise, as I say, it's quite a long way to fall when you're 5.5 meters tall. He's waiting ever so patiently now. There you go. Look at him just pushing his chest out. I just think it's quite nice just to sit with the giraffe a little bit longer, because you don't tend to see them too often. So it's nice just to spend a bit of time with them. And as I say, with the interesting behaviour, there's always a possibility. But as I say, I don't think we're going to get a mating out of him. But we'll see if we can have a drive around and maybe see if we can find where the carcass was the vultures were trying to source out.